Thanks to the recording.
Yeah, I started recording already.
Okay. I'll be with you here.
Sure.
Okay, because there's a few things that I would have to write. So your name is
Amaya.
Amaya.
Sorry, I just saw you. I just saw your text and your call. It's a rock your meeting. There's like Philip as well. Philip, like,
Thank you very much for joining us on day 2 of the FutureReady event as we explore another day of fascinating discussions and a little bit about the latest developments in AI data robotics. Fairly significant announcements over the past few weeks that we're going to mention in a moment. I'll invite also Cecile to the stage to give us a little bit of an overview of 2 of them. There's been the Gen AI for You initiative and a little bit also on the Apply AI program and the ambitions there. And importantly, how this all connects with the working group activities that we have within ADRAe. How those working groups are going to be contributing to some of the kind of rationale and thinking within those 2 initiatives, and how we roll, how we activate and how we mobilize stakeholders and how we actually deliver impact on the ground. But I mean, just in the first instance, really, as a bit of a refresher, we had a couple of large initiatives mentioned recently. So the first one being the Invest AI program that kind of looks to mobilize 200 billion euros. It's an initiative that has a dedicated tranche of funding for AI gigafactories. So these gigafactories are going to be equipped with 100,000 of the latest generation AI chips, providing infrastructure needed to very, very large AI models, which I think is fantastic because it gives us the opportunity to develop some of those sovereign capabilities that I think we're lacking. And also support discoveries and breakthroughs in the science as well, fields such as medicines and materials and biology. But I think more importantly, it's a collaboration that demonstrates that we are willing in Europe to democratize access to this kind of large-scale computing. That it's not just the very largest companies that are able to benefit from it, but we're able to open access to startups, scale up to themselves. The other initiative that I think is worth mentioning here is the EU AI Champions. So it's an initiative that brings together over 60 European companies, startups to established firms that are essentially committing to making Europe a global leader in AI. And I think demonstrating that we are able to coordinate and organize Europe in a similar fashion to other parts of the world and invest hopefully in similar scales. And I think it's a kind of demonstration that all of these high-level reports from the likes of Draghi and Huet are being taken seriously, and they're developing into policies that can be deployed at scale and deployed with impact. So in a moment, I'll again invite Cecile to talk a little bit more in detail about some of these things. But I think what is kind of the ask to all of you in the audience is that you know, this is not something that has been done to you, but it's something where we are encouraging all stakeholders to kind of step up and take a role in these initiatives. I think everybody has a part to play in trying to see these things delivered on the ground. I think, especially with the discussions that we had yesterday, you know, people are really passionate and emotional about the needs, that some of the aspects that need to change, and everybody fundamentally wants to see a positive change in Europe. So I think if there's a one ask to all today, it is to kind of please kind of come together, ideally with Adra within our working groups, and contribute to those discussions that we hope will have a real impact at the end of it all. So in terms of today's program, we're going to have the opening session with Cecile, who's going to talk talk on building Europe's AI leadership insights and strategic directions. Then we're going to have a presentation of the AI-on-Demand platform to research, from research to the market, and really how we can benefit from the platform and the utility of the platform. Then we're going to move into our various topic group meetings on agriculture, innovation deployment, and EMEA, inspection and maintenance and energy, smart urban places and mobility, after which we'll have a lunch break. And then in the second half of the day, we'll move to digital twins, automation, and then Gen AI for manufacturing, healthcare, human technology interaction, trustworthy AI, and then finally we'll be at the closing session by 4 o'clock. So I do hope you all enjoy today as much as you did yesterday. Got a lot of positive feedback, and I'd like to welcome Cecile to the stage, deliver the initial presentation. Thank you very much.
There was one.
Very happy to be with you today, and try to have this opinion of
Not this one, the slides.
Of both the AI-on-Demand platform and ADRAe. These two coordination and support action actually support you as a community, and these are tools you put at your disposal. This is your tool to help creating this community, and as you just said, working together and really make it happen in Europe. We need scale, and we need really to build these champions in Europe, and you're there to help us make it happen here in Europe. So let's see. Okay, I see. The presentation. What I wanted to do in this presentation is basically focus on.
No, I'm sharing your slides online.
Sorry?
I'm sharing your slides online if you. No, I have yours on on Zoom, but
They are saved on the share drive, and then so yeah, I wanted to explain a bit and focus on what we expect from you today and how it will contribute to the bigger policy fight, and in particular to Gen AI for you and the future apply AI, which is somehow the continuation and the expansion of Gen AI for you, that we developed last year. So yeah, Gen AI for you setting the scene for competitiveness, and as you heard the word AI continent. So we firmly believe that we need still to invest in research and innovation to really put the foundation of an AI continent. But we need you and to really make it happen and to develop this technology, making sure that we in Europe, we master the technology. We're not just consumers of such technology. So the goal of this presentation is to inform you about the status of this Gen AI for EU initiative that we launched about 1 year ago now. Just to, in the following presentation, you will have a presentation of AI on-demand platform. This is your platform, and it's great to have here the developers of one part of the platform, which is there for the research and innovation community. So you will have hands-on information to really use it and
people have seen this.
put your research there, you use it to make sure that we can really use your result and we can really build also a community around this this platform. And finally, we expect those different workshops that we will have and different topics to input on our policy in different ways. So I will briefly present the current plan for the work program 25, which is draft and to be adopted. But what we expect from you is to complement these with future use cases, practical use cases that we expect you to identify, and we will use it to define also the priorities for program 26-27 and also the future apply AI strategy that I will quickly introduce in a moment. Okay, so this Gen AI for You initiative, I don't see the slide there. Okay, so the goal of it, so 1 year ago, we issued this communication, which was the AI innovation package. And the goal of it was basically to put Europe on the map of generative AI in, on the one hand, providing access to computing facilities, to startups, to the AI community as a whole, to develop their Gen AI models. And also, in parallel, we have the Gen AI which is a 500 million investment to develop models and to develop also applications together, bringing together the AI community and user industry. And that needs to work together to build a strong solution based on Gen AI for these different sectors. And already there we say that it is essential to do it to keep our strategic sector competitive. So this was really the root of the Draghi report, which again puts AI as the core of the point for competitiveness in Europe. So what we wanted with Gen AI for You is really to stimulate the widespread of generative AI in our critical sectors in Europe, and also including the industry and the public sector, and also AI for science. And what we also highlighted is not that we want to only use Gen AI in those sectors, but build solutions made in Europe for those sectors. This is why ADRAe is so important, to bring the community, identify who are our best developers to develop those sectorial solutions. So the goal is to bring the startups, the developers, the research community working together to with also the user industry and the public administration to really attract investment and also make use of the resources you have in terms of data. We are working with AI data and robotics data. Is there, all the initiatives we are carrying out in terms of data pooling. And then in the computing facility and also algorithm and the talents. So we have also activities to foster talent in Europe through our research and innovation activities, and also the same for the development of ADRAe. So the sector which we have identified in this communication from January 2024 are listed here. So public sector, robotics, healthcare, biotech and chemicals, materials, manufacturing and engineering, you will see the moment, mobility, security, aerospace, agriculture, science, and also smart city and community. We call it the virtual worlds and digital twin, also for Earth observation. And then there are also, in addition, 14 strategic sectors which we consider as well for the deployment and the development of solutions based on AI. I will say in a moment how concretely we did it. So the budget which was announced was $500 million, and actually we worked with the colleagues working in the different parts of the work program of Horizon Europe and Vision Europe program. And so far we have already put 690 million in different calls of proposals. And here, this is our duty to bring you to these different application sector to make sure that we, from our side of the Commission, identify and bring the best developers we have in Europe to develop those solutions. So we have two basic funding programs, the Horizon Europe program and the Digital Europe program. In the Horizon Europe program, the way it is organized is by, we call it clusters, so each bubble is a cluster. So cluster 1 is in health, 2 is culture, creativity, and inclusive industry, 3 cybersecurity, basically. The 4 is the one where we develop mostly the technology and work in manufacturing as well. Cluster 5, climate, energy, and mobility, and cluster 6, dealing with environment and agri-food. And in each of the sector, we talk to each of the representatives of those sectors and identify some topic for GenAI for you. I will give more detail in the second. In addition, we have the Digital Europe program, which is a program which is more focusing on complementing Horizon Europe with 2 things. It's about building the infrastructure that we need to develop digital technology, and number 2, deployment. So these 2 axes are the pillars, let's say, of the Digital Europe program. And in that context, we will have calls on the use of GenAI for public administration, and also an AI skills academy, and focusing in particular on generative AI. So this is what we have been preparing the last year, and the calls are expected to be announced around April with a deadline around September. So this is draft. This has not yet been formally approved by the member state. They have seen, and we had a number of iterations with them, but this is why I'm calling them drafts. So they could still be changes, but I think it's important that you as a community are already prepared to see which kind of topics we are calling for. And I will not go into the detail, but give the titles. So in cluster 1, which is about healthcare, the focus is really using multimodal data and see how it can be used both in biomedical research on the one hand, and on the other hand, more in the use of the healthcare system in general. How can we use GenAI to help doctors, to help hospitals in their management and so on. Cluster 3 is the one on cybersecurity. There will be a call on generative AI for cybersecurity applications. Then the cluster 4, this is the cluster where we as technology developers have most of our calls. And there, in terms of applications, we have one which will address pharma, drug, aerospace, and telecoms as application industry. And there we will have some challenges to using generative AI to demonstrate how they can solve impactful use cases in these sectors. We'll have a big one on robotics, GenAI for robotics, and also the use of GenAI for industrial automation. Then more on the research side, we will also have a call on advanced learning strategies, also building it on and complementing GenAI. Then there will be assessment of general purpose AI capabilities and risks. Then there will be a GenAI for You central hubs where we want to build the community around GenAI, and also build the community around all these calls that are going to be funded. There will be one on virtual worlds, so GenAI for more immersive and more personalized experience in virtual worlds, software engineering for AI and generative AI, foundation model in science, then especially material science, and then one on cognitive computing continuum, so to onboard really AI and GenAI. And finally, the way to do something of fostering innovative and compliant data ecosystem where GenAI can be used. It's not the center of gravity of the whole, but just it could be a tool to be used for that purpose. So just to give you a flavor of which kind of sectors, so here in a nutshell, pharma, drug, aerospace, telecom, robotics, and industrial automation manufacturing are main applications. In cluster 5, which is the one on energy and mobility, there will be a big core on the use of GenAI for the energy sector, so the whole energy grid and up to the whole system from central to edge, I would say. When it comes to mobility, transport, and logistics, there are a number of cores that mention AI and GenAI. So none of them is really centered around GenAI. So this is why we need stronger input for work program 2627. And this is the purpose of today to see, okay, the important use cases, impactful use cases where GenAI can be used. In cluster 6, similar, there are many topics which mention digital technologies or AI, but none of them really focus on GenAI. So there will be some opportunity, but we need also stronger cases and impactful use cases for as an input for the next work program and also for the Apply AI strategy. So next, it's an introduction to this Apply AI strategy where, at the AI Summit, our president said that we want really to create this private partnership for the development of trustworthy AI. This encompasses, of course, the creation of these big gigafactories to provide the right infrastructure to train models, but then we also have the adoption in complex applications. And this is to support the Apply AI initiative. So it builds on the AI Factory and GenAI for You. So just reminding you the working of the GenAI for You communication. So it's to stimulate the uptake of generative AI across the union strategy sectors. And Apply AI strategy is about to boost the new industrial uses of AI and to improve the delivery of a variety of public services. So you can see that it is really, really similar. The only difference, let's say, that it's not only focusing on Gen AI, but the broader AI type of technology. So here is the main objective, which again are very similar one to the other. So it means that it is very important, and we expect Adra and to really help us in building that from the AI Factory and the Gen AI Factory, which will be part also of Apply AI. And Apply AI will be a very strategic and will be bigger also than Gen AI. When it comes to the application sector, we saw the one from Gen AI. The Apply AI will be based on the Draghi report, which identified 10 strategic verticals. There is a lot of similarity between the two. In addition, we will also address the public sector and AI in science, which is mentioned in the political guidance and also the mission letters of the Commission. Now, the role of this assembly today and Adra is to help us shaping this and to bring our AI developers, researchers to the table. And we need to mobilize our best developers to develop those applications and those research and innovation programs to serve the need of the different sectors. And here we highlighted already the topic groups which will directly contribute to this strategy. So we need your input to identify where the technology is mature enough to develop these use cases, and also to attract the user industry, and we will help you also to connect with them to identify together where to focus in for future groups. So and both, it will both Gen AI for you. Currently, we have the program, but the future and the broader Apply AI strategy in developing we plan to have a communication towards the end of the year. So you've heard about the AI continent. There are many elements to that. So we are part of the AI office, which has 5 units with a different aspect of the AI development and deployment. We, on the right-hand side, we have all these, let's say, enablers put in place to make it happen. So both in the computing, access to computing, access to data, skills, and money. Then we have all the programs and strategies we have, the Apply AI, Gen AI for You, Research and Innovation. There will be a European AI Research Council, which will address both future basic research in AI, but also AI in science. And finally, we have also additional tools and also enablers in terms of specific dedicated tool for you, the AI plan, and then the future support for deployment, such as and the So that was the overview, and really happy to work with you to really bring those applications and helping the competitiveness of Europe with Poland. Thank you.
Very much for that, Cecile. So really in-depth presentation of the next few steps that come going forward. The next section is going to be with Barry there on the demand platform. So please welcome you up to the stage.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, everyone. I hope that you have been kind of having some information about what we are as the AI on-demand platform since yesterday, and I hope that you are not being overloaded with that, but just bear with us, okay? So can I have the slides, please? Next one, please. The combined one. Okay. Next slide, please. And when we have the full display mode, please. Yeah, so we have a kind of 5 different part of this 90 minutes, but hopefully that we can do that a little bit quicker for you to catch up with the schedule. So my colleague Barry is going to present the overview of the technical of the platform, what's available for you at the moment. And then I will go with the next version that we are working on at the moment. And we hope that we will be able to present that to you in second quarter. And then we will have those colleagues here, Paul, from the AI.
C'est ce que j'ai fait, c'est ce que je voulais. Je sais pas qui parle français, mais c'est pas moi. Moi, je partage
UX and UI for users. And
but this is
why it is important for us, but it is also important for you because you are potential users. It is important for topic groups, but it is also important for project as well. And then we also have a kind of like example of how those different tools that has been integrated with AIoD that will be shared by our colleague from Niccolo, and then also with the partner that's organizing the same, organizing this event with us is Adra-e and Adra. So they would have something to share with you about how the experience have gone with the integration. So the floor is for you, Barry. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. So it's a good pleasure to see you all again this morning, and thanks to those who are joining for the first time. So yes, it was a great day. And we talked a little bit about the platform today. So it looks like we're in good shape. The screens are the same. There we go. So, so the AI demand platform, what we're going to do right now is to take you through the technical aspects of the platform, and give you a sense of how it's put together and how it works, so you can have all of that information. So what is the AI demand platform? Well, basically, Europe does produce a lot of fantastic resources in terms of AI models, data sets, software, and services. So those of you who are actively working in the AI world, you do that kind of stuff all the time. And despite how it seems, we do as a Europe, as a continent, produce more PhD students than any other continent in the world. We produce a large number of research papers in any other part of the world. So we have a lot of assets that we can actually share with each other. The platform, of course, is the place where we want you to share those things. So if you're interested in being part of the community, as I said yesterday, we're establishing the community governance structure for the AI demand platform. So if you're interested in being a member of that, please let me know, or let my colleague Suzanne know. She's back in the audience there. And of course, the purpose of the platform is to unite communities. So it's, as Cecile was saying in her open address, we want to bring the communities together. So the innovation community, the research community, into a single platform where you can share and exchange your results. We want to make AI resources easy to find. And so at the moment, there are hundreds of thousands of data sets available on the AI demand platform. You can build services on top of the AI demand platform. You can see like in a few minutes. And of course, we're building a community around the platform so that they can use it and so on. So what is the AI demand platform? Well, it's a set of easy to use interfaces. It's so that you can easily find and share your results. You can build new services on the platform. There's an API, there's a program interface. There's a structure that you can use to build effectively whatever service you might like to build. So be it a matchmaking service between researchers and companies, be it for example, a visualization of some aspect of the community. Maybe now that the AI Act requires that we are doing literacy training, maybe you can build a service for doing AI literacy on the platform. The platform already has many dozens of education resources. You can build connections with existing infrastructure. So these can be storage facilities, they can be compute facilities. So if you're the owner of a data center and you're making available GPUs, we'd love to talk to you because you can deploy that and make that available on the platform. And so essentially what the platform looks like is, first of all, it's a web portal, it's an interface, it's a website where you can go and avail of all the services. There's a resource catalog, a metadata catalog we call it. And so everything that is registered on the platform is part of a database that sits behind the platform. And on top of that, you can build whatever you want to build. There are search engines, there are chatbots, there are various kinds of chatbots that interact with the platform to understand it, but also to, for example, post information on social media or to share information. These are developments that haven't been deployed yet on the platform. A really key part of the platform is this API, this programmable interface in Python. You can come on and build whatever you want to build. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And of course, there are services that can perform AI tasks. So at the moment on the platform, there are some prototype services that you can use, and you can enhance those. Next slide, please. So from an architecture point of view, what does the platform look like? Well, essentially, what kind of users do we envisage on the platform right now? And as Cecile mentioned, there are two different communities of user, essentially. There's the people come from the public service and the industry side, and there are people come from the research side, including startups and innovation. And that's what we focus on in AI for Europe. We're really focused on the research. And within the research community, there are three classes of users. There are researchers who want to create and share and use resources, maybe do an extra, maybe build a reproducible experimental pipeline for a paper, for example, and share that so people can produce it. There are educators, so people who make available courses, course content, video content that you can use in your courses, you can use in teaching your classes. And of course, there are students then who, research students, PhD students, and so on, who might use the platform as part of their work. The interface to the platform is in two forms. There's a website that you can go to, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the new version of the website, which is going to be released in the next few weeks. But there's already a interface that you can use and play with, and there's a set of services. And at the core of the platform, it's a green layer. There are catalogs of AI resources. There's a REST API for building clients to the platform, and there's all sorts of authentication and access control. So with the platform, when you sign on to it, you're using one of your standard sign-on credentials, be it the ECAS system that you use to interact with the European Commission, or be it your own institutional single sign-on credentials. They should all work. And so once you're on the platform, then you can do things like share data. You can make computer facilities available to all the users. You can share models, you can share software, you can share websites. So you can do media pieces, you can do social media pieces, you can build websites for your project, and of course you can build your own services. And only that, then there are the platform is extensible. So while there is a server-based structure to the platform, it is very distributed. So you can install and create a node of the AI on-demand platform in your own institution and make that available to others. Next slide. So in terms of the interfaces, there are four. There's a web portal, which I've talked about earlier. You can search for AI resources to one of the services which I'll talk about in a second. There's a very nice Python API where you can build your own applications. And so if you're thinking about, well, how do I upload the last 10 years of data sets from my lab? How do I upload 50, 100, 200 resources? Well, you don't do that manually. You do that programmatically. So you can write a program that uploads those on the platform. And we'll see some demos later about how you can do that. There are some services made available on the website on the ADRAe platform. These are examples of the kind of things you can build, but they're not by any means the only thing. And of course, there are chat interfaces that would be. Next slide. So the AI-on-demand platform is a decentralized structure. So there are so you at your institution or at your company, you can download the open source distribution platform, and you can create a node of that. And you can make your own services available. You can connect in with services that are already built. You might want to share. Some resources and so on. And so the leaf nodes that you create are basically the places where you can build your own custom services. So if you're running a project, you can create your own node of the AI on-demand platform, and there you can, using the programming interface, you can register with the metadata catalog in the background, the kind of services and content and the data sets and so on that you use, but you can also deploy your own services. You can maybe come along and interact with those, whatever they might be. And of course, a very important aspect of the platform is that you plug it into external sources, such as research databases, compute infrastructure, and so on. Next slide. So the platform is integrated with a number of I suppose at this point, standard services. So OpenML, which some of you might be aware of, is an open machine learning system developed from colleagues at TUE, University of Eindhoven. This is one of, in my view, one of Europe's really leading lights in terms of machine learning infrastructure. So there's an interface to OpenML, so you can build OpenML models. If you're already using OpenML, you can already take those models and you can store them on the platform. You can use models that are already on the platform, and you can do all sorts of interesting things. Other interfaces, if you all know, Sonoro, we have interfaces to all of these and more. So the number of interfaces is worth all. Next slide, please. So, so as I say, there's a centralized, a decentralized AI platform. So the platform itself, the core of the platform handles the authentication. So a single sign-on facility. This is important because you've heard this morning that there's, and yesterday we spoke a lot about the sister project AI for the deploy AI. So they're developing a version of the platform, an extension of the platform, for the commercial side, the industrial side, the public services side. But of course, you want to be able to make sure that when you consider the platform, the credentials you use in the AI for Europe side, and the research side of the platform, that these will equally work with the commercial side. So from your point of view, you shouldn't, and you don't have to worry about the fact that there are two different CSAs working on the platform. There's a single platform. And so there's a single sign-on facility, and you can use all the services on both sides seamlessly using that single sign-on. The catalog itself has been built. There's all sorts of interesting information there. You can extend that. So if you're finishing up a project, you should make sure that your assets are registered with the platform, and that means registering them and pointing to them by virtue of the metadata catalog. So you can basically point the platform to your work and your results in that way. And of course, the beauty is that while the AI demand platform itself doesn't really have storage per se, it points to where the storage is. So at your university, you have a large, I was talking to a person yesterday who's huge robotics data sets and trying to make those available. He can store those at his institution, so the institution owns them, but he can reveal them and surface them on the AI platform so others can benefit from it. Next slide. So there's so Pham will talk to you in a few minutes about the new version of the platform that colleagues from our communications partner, Loba, are developing right now. This is a new look and feel for the platform because obviously we've, in releasing the first version, taken a lot of feedback from people in terms of usability and appearance and organization. And in the next few weeks, there will be a new version of the platform released. And we thank everybody who's engaged in that process for giving us feedback. Next slide, please. So just to give you a sense of some of the services, there's a service called My Library. So My Library is, for those who are machine learning researchers, you might be familiar with the ML repository. So My Library is something akin to the ML repository in that you can, okay, here you work from Microsoft. Our colleagues get rid of that in a second. Well, almost. There we go. So the next slide. So there are hundreds of thousands of assets in terms of data sets you can engage with. And so you can see where the data set comes from. So for example, the one at the top left-hand side is the OpenML data set. Next is the Hugging Face data sets. And of course, you as researchers in Europe, you might make available your own data sets. So that could be a project based. This is a facility where you can search through data sets for a particular topic you might be interested in. For example, biomedical research, you might be interested in health research, you might be interested in transportation, and you can search for data sets about those topics. Next slide, please. So the API itself is a Python API, and so you can, rather than use one of the services, and this is what I would ask you to do when you look at the platform, that just because the services are limited, there's a small number of them, that does not limit in any way the capability of the platform. The platform is essentially it is limitless in what it can produce. There's a metadata catalog, which is a database of everything it knows about AI in Europe, AI in the world, and you can build upon that using this program interface. So you see a little snippet of code in a second down here in the bottom. That if you go back slide, please. Yeah. So you can see that you can get the list of all of the data sets and search for topics in those, and then based on that, you can automatically run a set of experiments in a batch way using the programming interface. You don't have to do it manually. Next slide. So the API is available for you to explore and to use. It's well documented at this point, so you can find all sorts of information. And these slides are made available to you after the session, so you can follow all the links. Top there. Next slide, please. So So in terms of how you install it, it's a standard Python distribution. So you can do a pip install, AI-on-Demand platform, and you can, there's lots of documentation where you can get a sense of what's going on there. You can build your own notebooks, you can share it with platforms. If you go back and to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. So our colleagues at the back are following the links at the top there, time. So next slide, please. Great, so there's a REST API for those of you who are not Python programmers, so you can explore the API, understand what's on the platform. So if you want to navigate the platform, you can do that in this REST API, which is a sort of point-and-click interface in Python library. So you can explore that by just navigating that sort of website, as well representation of the platform. Next slide, please. You will hear in a few minutes some of the kind of services that we've built. Our colleagues at T&O, who are part of the project, they've built a landscape mapping tool that's available on the platform. And so as you register your organization, you describe yourself on the T&O service, eventually you will be able to ensure that you're literally on demand and that your interests are documented there so people can see you and find you. Next slide. Rail is, for those of you who use Weka and tools like this, often as part of a machine learning system, you have access to an automated form of experimental evaluation. Rail is such a system, and so you can, so in Rail there are templates running experiments, so be they classification type problems. So you can build something in with OpenML and you can run it on the platform through Rail and get your results and store the results back into the platform. So the kind of settings that you use, so for reproducibility, this is really great because associated with your paper, you can put a link to resources on the AI-on-Demand platform that allow someone who's reading your paper to recreate your results. Next slide, please. AI Builder is a system that's developed by our colleagues at Pham. So this is a point-and-click tool chain or pipeline development system. So you can, if you're not a programmer and you want to build an application, you want to build a code, you do that with AI Builder. And there are various components of AI pipelines that are stored on the platform. So you can use the pipelines of others in building your own pipelines or your own prototype applications. So it's entirely in a closed-loop way. Slide, please. And we'll hear a little bit maybe later about the some of the chatbot interfaces with the platform. Because obviously these days people want to be able to simply talk to software systems and get information. So already with the talk to AIoD, you can basically type, in principle, could speak to a platform and ask a question like, can you show me the resources about university timetabling or production scheduling or product configuration? And so the interface will help you navigate the platform in that way. And you just get a sense of some of the kinds of interactions that we have. These are very, very sophisticated. And my colleague Paul Lukowicz, who came in earlier, who's sitting here on the third or fourth line and might give a big wave. You'll be hearing from him in a few minutes. He can talk to you about these chatbots. If you wish. Next slide, please. And of course, other LLM tools, and Cecile mentioned the importance of GenAI. There are LLM tools being deployed on the platform that allow you to do simple things like promote a project or develop post a social media report on, say, LinkedIn or something. Next slide. So we really want you to share your resources. As Cecile said yesterday, one of the really important things that we realized as a community over the past 10, 20, 30 years with framework programs is that when the project ends, people go home and they forget all about what they've done. What we want you to do is we want you to create a presence in the platform, and we want you to share the data sets, resources, the services, the tools that you've developed so that they're available for others to build upon and to explore. Next slide, please. So you can do that in a variety of ways. Myself, Pham, we're here to help you do that today. If you want to do that subsequently, we can organize workshops to do that. We've been running workshops with the community over the last year to help them understand how to use the platform. If you want to be part of the ambassadorial network, if you want to be seen as a if you want to be a leader in your community from the platform point of view, please speak to us. We'd be delighted to have you as an ambassador, and we will work with you to create events and activities around signing up people, getting things done on the platform. If you're running a course at some university, you want your students to use it, we will help you onboard students to get them using the platform. Next slide, please. And so I think hopefully you get a sense of how it all works. The key pieces are this notion of single sign-on. So once you sign on to the platform, all of the services and the data sets are available to you. This is, I give a metadata catalog, which is essentially a database of all results, activities, and assets that have taken place, that are available in Europe and indeed elsewhere. And you can build on top of those things. And then on the API, this program interface, you can build your own services. You can add a node to the platform, and you can then deploy and release whatever it is you've developed to the entire community or to whomever you. Now, my colleague Pham is going to speak a little bit about the next version of the platform. By version of the platform, we mean that if you go to AIoD.eu, you will see a website with a particular interface. The menus allow you to access the services, and the current version is not tremendously user-friendly. In the next few weeks, you will find a version appearing there that's much more user-friendly, and it's built using the feedback that you've given us over the last number of months, to take account of how you want to see the information, how you want to organize it. And my colleague Pham will give you a sense of what that looks like. And for those of you who registered this morning at the main desk, you've met Joanna, my colleague from Nova in Portugal, and her team are responsible for releasing that new skin, that new interface to the platform. But the services and metadata catalog, the single sign-on, that doesn't change. This is just an interface, a way of viewing and looking and interacting with the platform, and that's new. So my colleague, so thank you very, very much for your attention, and Lon is going to speak to you with you about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next slide, please. So I'm trying to cut short on this because we are behind schedule, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to have the real taste of what our colleagues have been working with us rather than tracking on. So already that you've seen from what Mary has been presented to you is a bit of a different experience on the platform at the moment. So user experience is not consistent. That's why we're trying to see that how we are going to improve that. And what we have done is actually that we work on with our colleagues, and we distribute the survey, and we get the insight from users already on the platform, but also that someone who has, so we have taken a bit to really help us with what are the challenges. I'm not going to read all of the challenges here, but basically what we found out that we can do much better. Next slide, please. So right now you see all of the last one, please. So you see that we have different kind of interface. This is not consistent here. And it is, in point of view of the user, it is not going to be a very nice experience when you get on with it. When you get on with it, like any other platform, we want you to stay on it. We want you to explore it. We want you to actually engage with it. That is our point. And that is also what you want to do with it, because you don't want to waste your time on it. So that's why we are trying to have all of those kind of in the interface, but also in the user experience would be better for you. Next slide, please. So what we are proposing is actually that we have different kind of services there, and then it's the same kind of the menu that you already know what are going to be in that. And as you see here, what we would have as the of the new version would be the dashboard that is actually catered to your needs, and that is the opportunity for us to personalize it, to actually helping you to navigate the platform better. Next slide, please. So for what we propose is that we have different kind of sections here. I'm not going into every single details. You can have the slides after that. But what we wanted is that it is actually created for you. We are trying to improve it so that you would be able to engage with it using all of the services that Barry already mentioned. And then most of all is actually that having your contribution to the platform, because it is your platform and you need to actually letting other people. So the other time when we were talking about with other colleagues from other projects, the visibility sells, and every one of us is wanted to tell the world, to tell our collaborator out there that what we have and how we are going to be able to work with others. And we already know this day is not going to be easy if we work totally by ourselves. And that is also the purpose of the platform. Next slide, please. So this slide you already seen before, what we have as the current one and what we would like to have it look like, as you already see there. Next slide, please. So we are trying to combine all of those kind of like very different way that you see our platform at the moment if you are going on it. But like after this, next slide please, what we wanted is actually that it will be more systematically organized and displayed, and the way that we cater is to your needs. And we have the capability to personalize what your usage would be. Next slide please. So what we propose here with different sections here, we also have the videos that trying to capture attention from when you actually get onto the platform, how you're going to use it and how you are going to experience it with us. And then we also have different ways that we can engage with you in terms of giving you the key highlights of what's on the platform. Next slide, please. And then we also have, for example, on the section 4, you see here, integrate your services is actually where we would have not just only in terms of the introduction, but we also have video clips that we will be able to show you ways to do it as well. Next slide, please. And then here is where you will see that, for example, with the catalog that we have been built. I think it's one of the best way is actually that giving you the opportunity to explore it, giving you the opportunity to use some of that, and then also having the capability to kind of like select those that will be meaningful and relevant to your research. And you can store it, and then you can have it within your profile that you are registered to use on the platform. Next slide, please. I'm not going into details here, but like whatever is going to be is that we are trying our best to have the better interface for you. Next, please. Here you will see that one of the service rail is the experiment where we're trying to have not just only what is already what will be useful for you in terms of the data and how you do it, but also that what recommendations that you are being able to learn from, and then to see what others have been doing as well. Next slide, please. And we also have your the videos going to be there to guide you. Maybe some of you would not wanted to go into reading a lot. Some will be more of the visual appealing. So that is also the way that we are trying our best to have that ready for you. Next slide, please. So here, for example, in the community part, where we would also think that it will be, why we're trying to do that this way is actually that it will give you better opportunity to engage, and then using this part of the platform where you have news that you want to announce to the community. You can have events like this one announced on there, and you are trying to find the one that will be most relevant to you, so you can be a part of that. If you want to have the newsletter of the platform, but also contribute to the newsletter from your project or from your clusters or topic group, for example, then you can also be a part of this. And then if you have projects that you want to share on this platform, for example, the new project that coming on board this year or later on, you can also have your project details on this part of the community. Next, please. And then here, under this map is good, you are going to see a little bit in more detail of what behind it and how we have integrated onto our platform later. But the ways that we are trying to display it and also curate it in the ways that we believe it will be much easier for you to navigate and also to use it in the ways that you want. Next, please. And then here is also other the success stories that we are going to, and it is one of the areas that we want to hear from you and we want to have your contribution. You don't need to think that, oh, that is not a success story. Every single effort that you are working on, the outcome, but also the ways that you are looking for to kind of excite others or letting others to know about what you have achieved so far, big or small, come to us, contribute to us, and make it as a success story that going to be important for the community. You can, through that, people will learn from you, but also that you can find new collaborators, hopefully. Next slide, please. And then here we also have the forum where you can have some topics that you can discuss as well. Next, please. And then you have the opportunity to actually having your dashboard, having your own kind of preference to store on it. And when you come back and when you sign on to this, we will be able to welcome you back, but also to recommend some things that you were on the platform and then making it a little bit easier for you. I know that most of you, and especially those that are more tech savvy and very technical in the ways that you have been using in other platforms. There is also opportunity for you to see that, okay, how you have been using it and then how we are offering it to you. And then we are continuously improving. So that's why we are here. We want to hear from you. We want your contribution. We want you to be on this platform and use it. And then if you have any problems, come to us. We are here to support you. Next one, please. So as I said, we are under construction of the new version, and we are hopeful that we will be having it in the second quarter of this year. And until then, if you wanted to experience some of it, we are not proud at the moment that the interface, but we are very proud of what we have been offered through the services. So again, if you are kind of geeky, then you probably still like what we have on the platform. But until the next version is coming out, that's when we have a better interface for you, but also the better experience for you to engage with us. So thank you so much. And I would like to invite my colleagues, Paul, on the stage, and he's going to share what his team has been integrating, but also building with us. Thank you.
No, somebody, next slide. No, that's not, this one?
The next one, please.
Yeah. Next slide.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share with you some of the work already mentioned by Barry. But what I would like to highlight in doing this is also the way that the platform and the platform team interacts with the community. In this specific case, there was a strong interaction with one of the Finnish Network of Excellence, the AIoD project, that resulted in two interesting things. One was essentially related to the interface uploading something to the catalog. So we were trying to do what Barry suggested, trying to put things from the project onto the platform to have it as a legacy. And what we noticed is that some people, including myself, enjoy working with an API and prefer to code in Python than in normal language. There are people in the project who actually think differently, right? And they found it pretty difficult and were not happy with using that interface to upload things to the catalog. Next slide, please. The metadata catalog already Darren has shown is, involves some, actually for a real programmer, not complicated, but a lot of people working on different stuff are not very comfortable with it. In fact. So next slide, please. So essentially what we do as part of involving the community or project and making it easier for them to upload slides. Stuff is to develop an app. And that's nothing that's like a very high science or any sort of very, very difficult thing to do. But something that's been done with people who are actually trying to put something on a platform that allows, let's say, basic components to be integrated in that catalog with a click and point and type interface. Doesn't require any knowledge about any sort of a syntax or structure of an API. And which in the end helped us to have a lot of people and a lot of resources very quickly being integrated. And that's something that again has been picked up by the platform team and said, okay, so we should actually integrate it in the version and have it released with a new version. Which I think nicely show how actually it's not something that's being done top down, but when the platform interacts with the community team and I think the platform community are actually taken up and provided. The next example, and please to the next slide, also goes back to something that Barry mentioned is the chatbot interface, right? We have these things everywhere. And again, we're part of the discussion that in the community, many are working on LLMs and interaction. That's something like this obviously should be on the platform. But the interesting thing there is, although actually the implementation of the chatbot talk to AIoD is essentially a RAG that is done on the catalogs. And some additional features we're working on, like a RAG you can, for example, do in somebody's Google Scholar profile so that you can have a personalized information. But the really interesting thing is that we did not just provide something technically. The whole thing was done by a PhD student of mine who actually worked on human-computer interaction with large language models and foundational models. And if you're interested, you have a session in the afternoon on the new topical group that deals with Gen AI human interaction. And I will share some of the other results we had. But actually what he did, in addition to implementing the bot, which will be part of the new platform, he did a user study with 100 participants recruited from the outside, which has now been submitted as a paper to HAI, which is a conference established by the community to look at human AI interaction. So I think that shows to you who are interested that it's not just when you do something to get something, but like many of the really successful, let's say, community platform, there's the issue of involving people and making that part of your research if you're really interested to, and doing something interesting out of it. So next slide, I think that's right. And what you can do again is the standard request, right? I think all of you know that from chatbot interfaces to things. We customize it for AI for your platform. We actually studying the use of different LLMs. And the really interesting things we are making it is continue studying human AI interaction. For example, the next stage what we are trying to do is to design a novel interface that combines this LLM chatbot-like interaction with traditional point-and-click interaction. Right? Because sometimes it's easier to just point and click to something, sometimes it's easier to talk. So the question is, how do you integrate the two together in such a form that you get an optimal collaboration? So that was a quick overview. And again, the message there was not just tools, which themselves in are not spectacular, but very useful. But the way that the platform tries to integrate researchers to participate, to be co-owners of what is done. Next slide. Yeah.
So our next slide, please. Our next speaker is from TNO. So please come up and share with us what the experience of integrating the European ecosystem mapping on the AI will be. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mom. So hi everyone, I'm Lazo, and there were already a few links of what we've made. And I wanted to show you how we've integrated it with the AIoD platform, but also what the next steps are, and what we think you could do or you can help with. So if you could go to the next slide, because this is already shown. This is the prototype as it is. You can go to the link. I don't have the luxury of clicking through it now. But you can actually visit it and already look for organizations, for certain research topics. So this is already functional. If you could go to the next animation, one slide back. So this was a prototype built by say a few consortia, which represented part of the research community, research and innovation community. If you could go to the next slide. One of the things that we've also done after this was to create a joint topic group in Adra to make sure that it stays on even after the work of the project has been finished. And this was also our vehicle to make sure that we can continue with Lukowicz plans to integrate it within the AIoD. So together with our wonderful colleagues from UCC, University of Twente, we started this group. If you can go to the next slide. We've also had the technical and other support from, I put up the logos of the partners of AI for Europe, but you could actually put all the logos there. We've had quite some help with this integration. So the technical level has also been talking about how to integrate, how to maybe adapt the metadata catalog that we mentioned before. And we're already quite far in the handover process. So the front end is now also being adapted by the colleagues at Lazo. And if we go to the next slide. The reason we're doing this is, well, I thought there were 4 things. So first of all, we create this shared language across the community. Of course, we're not there yet in the beginning, but we'll get there. Then also, because we have this shared platform, you have something that you can talk to each other through. And I think that would be a really important part to overcome that fragmentation of different communities, having their own mappings, having their own ecosystems. But also, as shown actually by Barry, you can create these rich user profiles, not just for yourself, but also for your organization. And finally, if you have that foundation, then you can build on top of that these overviews or analyses for policymakers to maybe help with matchmaking and provide all these services that are useful to the community. Next slide, please. Next slide again. So in the short term, we are now trying to figure out how do we extend this to data and robotics. It had a focus on AI, it had a focus on research and innovation. How do we extend it to also businesses? In the midterm, we would look at, okay, what's a good business case? How will this be funded? Because the development will cost money. Somebody has to do it, somebody has to pay for it. Can it be a community effort? And then in the long term, how will it sustain itself? Next slide, please. I don't actually need to show it anymore because the long show it. But we're very excited that the people from AI On-Demand are really talking to us about how to bring this further and even how should it look. So really briefly, what your role will be here. We'd like to know from the community, what are these functions that would really help? So how can we actually have an ecosystem mapping that can really will help you in finding partners, in finding resources, or in also showing what you have, showing what you can do for other organizations. And if you'd like to give us information or give us input, you can scan the QR code and join the mailing list and can please interact. And if you also have time later, we have a workshop after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudio. So we will have the last speaker for this session is Niccolo, going to share with us about how we are integrating and interacting some part of the Adra-e onto the AIoD. Carry on, please.
So our integration is basically regarding the ADRAe Awareness Center, which is something which we developed in the context of the Adra-e project, which is partly with the operational arm of Adra, so we are supporting them. So we developed this center as a resource for Adra. Basically, it's a central hub of different types of resources. We have educational resources, we have best practices, we have policy guidance in different types of formats. So videos, PowerPoints, webinars, all that type of multimedia. So we built this with the University of Galway, which obviously they had to do it. I mean, between the contractual obligation. So we have milestones, we have deliverables attached to it. So in the beginning, we have been like a different level, let's say, of maturity with respect to the AIoD. So ADRAe and AIoD were not really, let's say, aligned, but that has not stopped us, let's say, for the integration, because actually we held meetings with the AIoD team on a regular basis to understand where we would set up the integration. Go to the next slides. Thanks. So this has been happening in 3 basically major steps. So the metadata alignment. So as I said, so we had our own metadata and we developed the awareness center with our own. So thanks again to the partners with the ADRAe. So indeed we had several meetings with the AIoD teams. We didn't have to change our metadata structure, and that's really the message I want to highlight, but we have to harmonize. So we kind of get support from the team in order to do that, in order for the two systems to be, consistent or at least harmonious. The second step was the development collaboration about the API. So we heard from very long about they have this API with the points that people can use. We actually did that. So we developed a script through the get and post API, and we managed, let's say, to not just retrieve data from the AIoD catalog, but also to push data through the catalog. So we developed like this sort of bidirectional communication. The third and most important steps for us is the test environment setup. So again, thanks to our collaboration, so we developed this let's say, development environment in which we could test the functioning of the API. It was really important in terms of security, also in terms of, trustworthiness of the data, also to check that there were no duplicates beyond, between the awareness center and the AIoD. So basically, these are the 3 steps we followed. It was pretty easy, thanks also to the AIoD. So next slide, please. So what did we achieve? So there's now a seamless link between the awareness centers and the AIoD. So the 2 platforms are talking basically into bidirectional communication. We also achieved to reach another community which was not expected, which is the AIDA community, which is also getting data from the AIoD catalog. So we can say that our resources are also on their catalog now. And this is also good in terms of the sustainability. We go to the next slide. Why I'm saying sustainability? Because now we are, getting together these 3 communities. So not just ADRA, which was the main community we had at the beginning, but also AIoD and AIDA. So everyone can access these resources freely. So they're there for you to start. We have this resource sharing mechanism, which is highly scalable. So it happens in real time. So whenever a resource is updated, modified, or a new resource is created, is automatically reflected in the other community. This is also important because the awareness center from our side is something that will be handed over to ADRA. So it will not stay, let's say, as a product of a project, which is going to finish as funding lifecycle end, but it will remain actually available for ADRA in the first place, but also the other communities. And that's it from my side.
Taking 5 minutes. Perfect. Great.
We actually wanted to have a few quick questions if anyone have any urgent question, because we are a little bit behind schedule. Yeah, okay, so if anyone wanted, oh yes, we have a few hands at the back. Yeah.
Yeah, just a practical question. I'm Zazzeri from University of Finland, and when you register, do you need to have official registering from the university side, or is it, from the research unit side? whoever.
So. Not at all. So it's open to everybody. So you can, as an individual, you can register your organization if you wish, but you don't need any official permission. Right. So you can just go right ahead and if you have an ECAS account.
Good morning. We'll start the topic group discussion. So we have two topics group in this session: inspection and maintenance and energy. We'll start with short introduction to the two topic groups, and then we have a discussion where the goal is to find big tickets. So we count with you actually to keep this alive for the next around 90 minutes, because I think we should end around 1 p.m. We'll start with these introductions. The idea is also to start to foster this discussion around these two topic groups. And then we'll have this time for that, and we'll also show what are the key questions you want to answer on the discussion. So we'll start with this presentation from Astor that is online, and then we'll go to the energy topic. But I don't know, Thomas, if you want to introduce yourself.
I just let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Thomas Vögel. I'm with DFKI, and I'm here together with Albert van Wonderen. And Axel, Albert, and myself, we are coordinating the RIMA Alliance, which is a follow-on of the RIMA project for the network for robotics for inspection and maintenance. And as Axel cannot come here today, unfortunately, he asked us to support this workshop. So that's why I'm here. So, but now we give the word to Axel, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas and Ricardo. And yeah, very nice of Thomas and Ebert to stand in on very short notice. I was supposed to be there, but then life happened. So I'm the coordinator of the inspection and maintenance topic group in ADRAe, and I will give a short introduction to the group and some key aspects of AI data and robotics in inspection and maintenance that have been gathered through the work in the topic group and also in collaboration with other entities. So in the next slide.
It worked, but it's not working.
We state our mission for the topic group. So it's to facilitate cross-community networking with a large variety of stakeholders. So we are involving end users, SMEs, large companies, and the public sector, research, academia, and policymakers to work towards identifying success stories, challenges, and identify next steps in AI and data and robotics for inspection and maintenance. So we're collaborating quite a lot with the robotics topic group on inspection and maintenance through joint events, and also with the RIMA Alliance on inspection and maintenance. So in the next slide, I'll show a little bit about all right, yeah, please go to the next slide. Here are some of the key infrastructure that we need to deal with, that Europe and the world basically need to deal with in terms of inspection and maintenance. So on the one hand, you have assets and equipments, pressure vessels, ship hulls, hydro turbines, flare stacks, etc. In the next, you will see plants and areas, so basically a collection of assets. And then in the next, there is linear infrastructure. So in terms of robotics, but also AI and data, these exhibit quite different challenges. In the next slide, we have some examples of different types of robots that are used. Aerial robots, specialized robot manipulators, underwater robots, robots climbing. Some robots have a tether, others do not, and that puts some real strains on, for example, edge computing, data communication, data processing, but also on the robot design itself. And all of this gives very diverse applications, very diverse requirements. And the data is plentiful. So you could have like time series, video, audio, X-ray data. The amounts and difference in data is just huge. And we're trying to get to a place where we can actually do prescriptive maintenance with the combination of AI, data, and robotics. And what does that mean? Prescriptive. It means that not only should we know the state of the asset, not only should we try to predict how the asset evolves over time, so when damage can occur, but also to estimate and predict how we best can follow up this asset and avoid further degradation. So in the next slide, we indicate some of the key sectors here, and they're basically all over where you find infrastructure. So I think I'll just skip to the next slide again. And the market is huge. If you look at basically mostly the robotics side of AI data and robotics in inspection and maintenance, only there the numbers are huge. So I really recommend reading this robotics revolution from the offshore renewable catapult. It has a lot on interesting facts focusing on robotic solutions for offshore, onshore wind, oil and gas, and nuclear and energy sectors. So not just the sector as a whole, but actually the robotics part, and also how AI and data is relevant there. So we've established that there's a large variety of applications. There's a large variety of requirements, and there's also a large market. But what is actually the market drivers? So in the next slide, the market drivers are shown. So on the one hand, and people often talk about improving safety. It is very important. We have to get people out of harm's way. But in order to actually realize that benefit, there often has to be a cost improvement also. That can be avoiding cost, reducing cost, or increasing revenue by increasing operational efficiency. In the later years, we've also seen that improving environmental performance can have a lot of impact, and now there are also processes in place that can determine how beneficial your loan agreements are based on your environmental performance. But there has to be a cost reduction very often. So in the next slide, we'll look into what are the key technologies. And this is an example. There are definitely others as well, but let's go through them real quick. So on the one hand, you have digital twins. Basically, not just a 3D representation of your asset, your bridge or your pressure vessel or your building, but to be able to test and simulate functionality, to visualize, to use that for training, and to use that in the next box, not the predictive maintenance systems. Monitoring, predicting, but also prescribing maintenance needs. Augmented reality is really close to human-machine collaboration. Augmented reality can provide in-field support from off-field experts, training, also very useful in integration with digital twins. Then giving autonomous capabilities to the robots that basically embody this AI that we're also developing as a community. And the robots themselves. Hardware for mobility and access. Our main challenge today is cost, because the robots are often specialized towards particular applications, and when you build something special, it's also going to have a special price, which is usually high. So that's a very big challenge. So these are some of the key AI data and robotics technologies. And then in the next slide, we transition to the overall challenges. So one there, business industry acceptance. Automatic data analysis, yeah, we can go through them, just click standardization, robustness and reliability, and then two more, sustainable deployments and integration. I'll go through them real quick. So on the business industry acceptance, there was a robotics lead on a conference late last year in a very big oil and gas company who said that introducing new technology is 80% change management and 20% technology. Now, not everyone agreed that it was that much, but definitely working with the organization, working to establish these new ways of work, the new business models, increasing the business readiness level to basically using more AI data and robotics. It's a big part of succeeding with AI data and robotics in inspection and maintenance. Then the robots are gathering a bunch of data, and also fixed sensors are gathering a bunch of data. So how can we actually reliably automate the analysis of such data? And to standardize the data formats, standardize the verification and validation testing procedures, to also ensure, in the next box, robustness and reliability. Then what is sustainable deployments? Sustainable deployments in this setting is basically that today we see a lot of one-off tests and deployments. There are machine learning models being deployed for some analysis of some video data, for example, finding cracks. There are drones being deployed to inspect some areas. There are robots being deployed to do some light maintenance. But you don't see the day-to-day operation. You don't see that often that the robots are managing the transition from these one-off deployments to sustainable deployments, being the new standard tool in inspection and maintenance. And that's very much related to the business industry acceptance, of course, but also to the next box, integration into systems and integration into operations. So next slide. All right, there was yeah, I didn't include that, but then I can say to kind of succeed with all this, I think we need to see a tight integration of AI data and robotics to realize high value use cases in inspection and maintenance to kind of succeed and bring the industry forward. Thank you very much.
Great. So I will present the energy topic group, and it's very complementary to inspection and maintenance. Actually, the focus of this presentation will be more on data and AI, because the robotics side was actually very well covered by the inspection and maintenance topic group. So I start with the energy sector just to give you, so there is a lot of motivation for using AI, because this sector is also having a transformation. So one of this transformation is the decarbonization of the system. So there we are starting to have more renewables in the system. green energy vectors like green hydrogen. So this is a big revolution, comes with a lot of challenges. Another one is decentralization. So nowadays, we can have PV panels at our home, we can have storage, we can have an electric vehicle, the electric vehicle can charge and discharge in the network. So there is, we are starting to own energy assets that 20 years ago was not possible. And so this is becoming very decentralized and everyone can produce their own energy, for example. And then there is digitalization. So the sector is going on decarbonization trend, but also on the digitalization trend. So we are starting to have more sensors on the network, are collecting more data. We are able to build a digital twins of the network. We have energy data spaces. There is a new EU project to put this in production. There is IoT sensors on the network. Consumers are producing data. So we have smart meters at home. We have sensors that monitor our comfort at home, the ambient temperature. All of this is becoming very important information on the energy sector. On the other side, there are challenges. So one of these challenges is that this is a high-risk sector, but also a risk-averse sector. So you don't take too much risks because it's most of it are critical infrastructures, generation assets are critical infrastructures. So you need to be very careful on the decisions you do. And traditionally, it uses expert systems and model-driven approaches. And that's when you work on AI, you want to apply AI to use case in the energy sector, and you discuss this with an expert from the sector. The first answer normally is why I need this, because I have my own expert system, I already use this software, it works pretty well, and I don't need your AI solution because it depends on data, it comes with a lot of problems and so on. So we need to address this from the viewpoint that they already used to this kind of tools, and changing them is not so easy. And then it's a complex social technical system. So there are operators of the power system, there are generators, there are companies, there are people, there are citizens. There are other sectors that depend more and more on the energy sector. The case of mobilities is one of them. With electrical mobility, we have to start even planning the charging points according to the grid. So there is a lot of intersections with other sectors with even. So this is also an important challenge. And something that is important to say is the AI is not new in the energy sector. This is an example from the world forecasting tool that was developed in the US in '92 by ADRAe. It was adopted by 35 system operators in the US and has been in operation for more than 30 years. And they already use neural networks. So that's also something you can easily hear is that, okay, AI is new. I'm using neural networks for the last 30 years in my company, and what is new in what we have. But is the problem solved? No, because we start to have a shift in consumers' behavior with demand-side management. So consumers are starting to react to prices, they are reacting to carbon signals. We start to have data centers where they want to have green data centers, so they want to react according to the amount of renewables on the grid. There is electrification. So I mentioned electric vehicles, but heat pumps. For example, in countries, in my case from Portugal, where we don't have district heating for weather reasons, let's say, most of the heating now in the new houses is with heat pumps. So it's being fully electrified. So they don't use gas anymore, it's going to electrification. And it changes the power. And then there is the distributed energy. So each one of us can have a PV panel and we self-consume generation, and you can have storage or not. So forecasting these loads is becoming much more challenging. Maybe these solutions with these artificial neural networks from the 90s is no longer providing the correct forecast that is expected. This is another example, expert system. So this already exists in control rooms. Is the real example made also, I think 30 years ago in the transmission system operator. This is an expert system and it works pretty well. They look at the rules they have in expert system, they understand how it works, and they also understand when it doesn't work, and they live well with this. And we need to make sure that we are aware of these developments. And more recently, when we want to forecast the renewable generation, this is already a product. So you can find these as a service, you can buy it as a service, you can find it as a software, and you can install the software in-house, you can develop the software in-house. And this is tremendous achievement. We saw recently in the news this work that was published in Nature with AI to accelerate numerical weather predictions, but there is a lot of work in forecasting power simulating with that, and it combines a lot of different information. Satellite images, time series, sky cameras, and it's doing very accurate forecasts for renewable generation. So these already exist in the market for more than 15 years. So again, this is going on this direction. There is a lot of ongoing work in the last decades, and we need to be aware of that when we try to plan the next decade of innovation on this area. But why we are talking again about AI, this is being used already in the last 20 years at least, because there is a lot of new developments and advances. One is on the AI hardware. Normally, we are handling a large-scale infrastructure, which is very demanding computational when we have to use all the data and we want to solve a problem. And these advances in AI hardware, in particular with GPUs, is quite relevant because it opened the door for different applications. Deep learning as well, I could give the example of computer vision, but reinforcement learning with deep learning is becoming actually an important point to build recommendation systems to operate these power systems or these assets that we start to have, electric vehicles and storage. And this is one revolution in reinforcement learning can have a big role to play on this ecosystem. Generative AI, it's becoming also a trend. I mean, the idea of predicting the next token is very relevant to build foundational models for the power grid. This is already being done. There is a US-EU working group that is building a financial model for electrical grids, and the idea is this next token prediction that is enabled by the transformer architecture, but also this idea of combining information, in particular textual information, is very important because this textual information already exists in the energy sector, in the power system for many years. Operators in control rooms, they get alarms, and alarms are textual data. And in the past, it was difficult to process this data, but now with generative AI and natural language processing, this is starting to change. Physics informed machine learning, because as I mentioned, there is a lot of physics and model-driven approaches. We cannot neglect them. So we have to look at these model-driven approaches, these expert systems, this physical knowledge, and hybridization with data. And if we don't do that, we miss the point. So physics-informed machine learning is actually something that in Europe we can invest and we can be more advanced than other regions in the world. And that's something that I think in my opinion should be mentioned. And then automated AI with local platforms and AutoML is also speeding up, and it's also important for end users. But one question that's always asked me when I'm a power system engineer is that I have this tool, it's model driven, it works pretty well. Why I'm changing to a neural network or a deep learning approach where you base on data and my data is not good? I prefer to use this tool. So the question is, what are these unique selling points of AI? We have to show them to find the right use cases for them. So one is real-time management. So one of the advantages of AI approaches is the fast inference. And fast inference means we can run multiple functions in much less time than the traditional tools. There are traditional tools, for example, they take 10 seconds to run. And you could say, okay, 10 seconds, it's not too much, but you have to run 10 million times. It's a lot. But if it runs in less than 1 second, it's a big difference. So this acceleration of 10 times can make the difference in real-time applications. And one of them is also complexity. So these systems are complex, they are large scale, they have partial observability, which is also an issue, and AI here can play an important point. They have uncertainty that we have to model in the right way, and they are also non-stationary, so they change. And this is also something that model-driven approaches struggle a lot to accommodate this, in particular partial observability. Most of the model-driven approaches, they assume full observability, they can handle uncertainty, but with a lot of parametric assumptions. Another one is simulation. We can accelerate simulation. As I said, we might have to run multiple simulations, less time, much more efficient. Also, the amount of energy consumption to simulation is also. And then explainability. We talked about in AI explaining AI models, but we need to see this from a different. Is that not explaining AI models is important, of course, but why not use AI to explain the model-driven methods and to explain the decisions we get from? As an example, we were running a real pilot of dynamic tariffs for electric vehicles, and the idea was that you give dynamic tariffs for the next day, and some of those the tariffs were discounted, and some of those discounts they were happening when the price of electricity was high, and they were asking us why. And we were not using AI; it was operations research, a mathematical optimization problem, and we have used AI to explain this to them. And the reason was that the occupation of the EV chargers was low at that hour, and despite the price was higher, for them there was profit for incentivizing them to use the infrastructure, because otherwise the infrastructure will be there and it's not using. So we're just using explainability, Shapley values from AI to explain mathematical optimization problem, and that's a different angle and that's a different application for AI. And finally, the possibility of forecasting. It's an easy use case for AI actually. And it's easy to show the value, but it's there. I mean, forecasting, and if you can quantify uncertainty of forecasting the value of it. And then there is a lot of use cases. I don't go into too much details on the use cases. Actually, the areas I have here, they are just illustrative. We can have here nuclear, we can have here oil and gas. We could have other areas here. I put here 4 because in this slide that could only fit 4 without destroying the visibility of the slide. And the use case is the same. This is not an exhaustive list of use cases, but you can see we have power grid, we have electricity market, we have the renewable power plants that came with a lot of challenges. Spectrum and maintenance is one of the key challenges of these infrastructures. And also the citizens. So the citizens also has a lot of benefits from AI. So I end with the challenges we see on the sector. One is the expert knowledge. So we have to leverage for the expert knowledge. We cannot just put them aside and assume that from data we can learn everything and assume everything, because this doesn't work. Data in this sector, there is a lot of constraints to use it, to share it, and the quality is not high as we expect. And then fast proof of concept. So we need this agile way of constructing this proof of concept because we need to show value. They have these quick wins to show value in the short term. And we also need to think on these sustainable open source models. There is some initiatives like Linux Foundation for Energy, and we have to see how we can make this a sustainable business model. Means that we need to track industry also to use open source solutions. It seems easy because it's open source, everyone will use it. It's not. So this is also something we have to think. And then the data spaces and data places, they are enablers. They will allow us to have access to real data, to synthetic data. Because synthetic data is something that, at least on this sector, is not common. You don't see too much work on that. Last week I was in the US and you were asking me in Europe, we are not looking too much at synthetic data. Here we only use synthetic data because we cannot publish or replicate real data for different reasons. And we probably have to look at that as well. When we talk about foundational model, can we train the foundational model based on general purpose? AI based on real data? No. We need to use synthetic data to complement the real data. And for that, we need these incentives for sharing data at these data marketplaces. And we also need data interoperability, because access for data is not the question of having data available or not. Is in the right form, or you have an interoperability cookie to get this data. Because otherwise, you have access to data, you lose a lot of time in trying to get this data, integrate this data in your model, and then you have 10 data providers and 10 times the work, and then you give it, because it's not, the solution does not scale. And that is something in AI that is is important to consider. On the edge, I think we need to have more domain-specific hardware on the edge. So if we start just using generic hardware on the edge, will not work in the energy sector. We need solutions that are very specific of the sector. It's an example that is being developed in the US, but they develop a small chip to connect with smart meter. So, and that is an example of a domain-specific solution that connects to an asset or an hardware that already exists in the power grid. Sustainable test and experimentation facilities. For energy, there are 3 tests that are not funded by the Digital Europe program. They are funded by Horizon Europe Cluster 5. We are starting them, we are part of 2. One question is, what is the business model? Because it's not clear. And when we start discussing with tests that are more ongoing, this is also not clear, but we have to think how to make them sustainable, because they are crucial to this. And finally, this Gen AI end user adoption. And that's also something I took from the workshop I was last week in the US, is that if an end user is just a nice to have function, probably will not like it. So the target is the must-have functions or the must-have components or AI solutions. And reaching that is very difficult. But this should be the target if you want to think in something that is sustainable, we have industry invest. That was all from my side. You can go to the website, and there you can also register on the topic group on energy on the mailing list. I think we can go to the last set of slides and also ask the others from the group on inspection and maintenance, because we'll start now the discussions. We go to the last slide, set of slides. So what will change? So that is,
It's
the goal is to discuss the set of questions. We prepare only 3 questions actually.
No.
And the goal is to find a big ticket for these 2 top group, and we need to find these big tickets in the short, medium, and long term, and we need 1 big ticket for each one. So in fact, this is the double work. We have to consider 2 topic groups. But I don't know, can we go to the third final slide with a question? I can remember that from my mind. So the first question was that what are the use cases or the key use cases to show value in the short term and in the long term? Again, the focus is not just think on the short term for these topic groups, but we can start while we change the slides. We could start if there is questions from the audience and comments while we change. Someone? No. Okay, so it's here. Okay, so this is the questions we want to answer. Those are 3 questions. So high-level use cases for the 2 topics, short-term and long-term. What are the technologies currently, but also the new ones? So we have to identify what could be the next technologies, and then the risks and the challenges that need to be addressed. Just to give you, so you have a QR code there, so you can also provide your feedback written. So if you scan the QR code, it goes to the Google Drive file, and you can write your inputs. And this is an example of the big tickets from the last strategic roadmap. There were 6, so the idea is to have 1 for each topic group here. They were not topic group specific, so they are more generic, but this is just to give you an example. But okay, we open now the floor to questions, to discussion, and Tom, if you want to come here, also to questions. We have to use the micro, and also online, if someone wants to talk, I think it's better to raise the hand. And
Yeah. So, yeah, but it's important that if you have any questions or comments, then you use the microphone so that Axel and maybe some other online participants can access it. Axel, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh yes, so I shared the questions and also the link to the document in the chat. for the webinar also.
So do we have an answer to this first question? What are the high value use cases for ADR in inspection and maintenance?
So don't be.
I'm asking. Well, maybe Axel can first have a first statement, and then somebody else may ask. So.
Yeah, sure. So we can think both short term, medium term, long term, of course. So I think one of the kind of lowest hanging fruits is to continue this push on automating data analysis on data gathered by robots. Robots meaning aerial drones, underwater drones, mobile robots, etc. So and there are definitely some challenges there in terms of acceptance and regulatory aspects, but on the short term, kind of picking more of that low-hanging fruit of automated data analysis, I think it's important.
Yeah, so thank you for the presentation. I have some ideas to share regarding the first question, more based on the energy sectors. So I think that here the main problem, I think there are two problems. For first one, the acceptance, as was mentioned before, and second one, AI is not new in this sector. I think we have a lot of technology, but nowadays this technology do not communicate one to each other. And I think the crucial point is to try to put them in contact together, so try to create an interoperability among the existing technologies, trying to bring really an added value in this sector. And I think that in terms of use cases, that we have two different groups. We have more the private ones, so I think into energy communities, for example, so really citizens, as we were mentioning before, and then we have also industries, because also in terms of data, as you were saying, analyze data, gather data, and now we will deal with big data because we have a lot of data in this sector. And in terms of industries, it would be really another point if industries change the point of view, saying, okay, if we share our data and we build what was mentioning before, the data economy, the data provided by the industry will enrich a lot the energy data spaces and provide us also some insights that then could be beneficial also for the other points of view in terms of, for example, energy communities. So I think that the short term in terms of easy access could be energy communities, because, you know, you can deal with small energy communities in which you can try maybe also to explain the added value of use these technologies. And then the long term could be the industries, because, you know, in industries, especially in large enterprises, they can be they maybe are not happy to share data and open access to data, because then we have also the problem of privacy and so on. And so here we have the team regarding that it was mentioning edge, for example, so work the algorithms on premises and not on cloud, so that your privacy is preserved. So from my point of view, in terms of use cases for energy sector, the short term could be more on energy communities to then foresee in long term the industries one.
By industries, you mean utilities, so big utilities in energy sector. Okay, just to comment on this, I think the local energy communities is very interesting, even if we go beyond energy, because you imagine that we start sharing my circles of PV generation, because I have more PV generation than I can consume, and I share with my neighbors, and I don't want in exchange they buy it. I could in exchange get services from them. And this is a way, for example, on energy poverty, can be a way of mitigating energy poverty. So we can even create jobs around it, because we can just install PV panels people who cannot afford, and then they can have circles of PV, and then the circles of PV can be exchanged by services they need. So this could create even cohesion within a community, and just by sharing data. Okay.
Yes, in terms of also sovereignty of energy and the PV, for example, as it was mentioned, I think that here we have two topics. The one is the acceptance and the facility to invest in this. So, for example, also try to promote this type of technologies within the energy communities in terms of, for example, use gamification or some internal way to invest within the community to, for example, try to provide you a reward in terms of your behavior within the community that then could be also evaluated in a different way with respect to your social and economic category. Okay, so for example, if we think from rural communities, their effort could be more reward in this term. So try to push them to adopt this type of technologies, for example, the PV panels, okay, and try to use the existing technologies to improve this type of means in terms of advantage for the community itself. Because, for example, right now you can have your home and try to install PV panels, okay, and you will put them in a good position to have energy for you. But you're thinking as an individual and not as a community. So if you start thinking as a community, maybe you will change the orientation of your PV panel, and for you it will be not so useful. But in terms of community, if we all use a good position for all the PV installed in the community, then it could be beneficial for everyone. So I think it's really a matter of acceptance and show them that could be useful to use this type of technology.
More comments online also. Online.
Yeah, this is Cecile from AutoCAD. One challenge regarding the energy topic is you were saying about before about the complexity of the energy system, that now we have people storing energy, producing energy. We have electrified the pumps, we have electrified data servers. This complexity can be managed by the AI. Thinking here in a centralized AI is not feasible because scalability and complexity. So the solution will be decentralized AI. So many agents deciding when to connect a battery, when to start a flexible load. And the challenge that I see here is at some point these agents may have opposite objectives. They could start competing between them, and that can bring problems to the grid, like overload or environmental problems, or since we don't have a centralized system, maybe we don't reach the optimum in terms of efficiency of environmental costs. So for me, this is a challenge: how to make all the agents of the grid to work in collaboration.
Okay. Thank you. I think here can be a hierarchical approach. You have distributed and centralized, and they have to coexist the two together, because having one or another, it's not the best solution considering this transformation we have right now. Any more comments, questions? Online, because we're not seeing. If someone is online, I think they can try to speak. You hear them.
We haven't heard much about inspection and maintenance.
I think going to the inspection and maintenance, because it's exactly what is, when you look at this, there was different assets to protect and to inspect, and one of the questions is where we see the highest value on the business model. So there is a lot of money, it was shown, but the question is, where is the money, and where is the use case with the highest money? This is something we want to identify as well.
Yeah, I mean, picking up on Axel's comment, I would say that he's right that in the first phase, in short term, the data, the D in the ADR is maybe the most important one. We're collecting a lot of data. We have to analyze this data, and the robots that we can use today, they may be not autonomous. They may be not so clever. They probably remote control, for example, for pipe inspection, sewer pipe inspection. It's already standard to have robots there, but these robots, of course, collect a lot of data, and they are remote controlled. So you put them in the sewer, and you have somebody kind of watching what they're doing and controlling them. So it's no AI at all. But for the data, of course, there you need a lot of AI to analyze it, because you get so much data out of this that it is very cumbersome for the operators, to watch kilometers of underground pipes. But then in the midterm, we really have to go into autonomous robots, maybe systems that do all these things by themselves. But my personal view is that we're still quite far away from there, and we have to start we have to start simple and get the trust in the industry for our robots and our systems, and then proceed from there.
I have one question about that. So there is this control, remote control, but another thing in terms of AI, when you do inspection, you normally don't have a label for the type of fault or problem that a specific asset have. My impression is that it's also a manual work. It's to manually label what is collected in terms of information. Is this a challenge? I mean, to do this also in an autonomous way, the labeling of the data?
To train an AI.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is yesterday we had a project here, the Reclaim project, and it has nothing to do with inspection maintenance. It's about waste sorting, but it's a typical problem. You have you have a lot of data, and to train about waste stream, for example, and to train your AI, you need to label this data. And of course, that's very cumbersome because but they came up with an innovative approach, which uses a gaming approach. So you want to get the public involved to label these data, but labeling the training data, of course, it's the most cumbersome thing. So at the moment, I think in many applications, it's still the robot goes in, the data are, video streams and so on are recorded, and an operator looks at it. And of course there are attempts, or there are systems that try to identify faults and cracks and some features in the infrastructures, but it's difficult to get this type of data also with the very different types of infrastructures we have, right? I mean, you have pipes, you have fridges, you have, I don't know, power lines, and it's very difficult to label this data now.
Any comments? One minute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the nice presentation, Niccolo. I have just a small remark related to inspection and maintenance activities. we discussed about short-term decisions, long-term one, as well as different perspectives. But what I think it would be also interesting to is to pay attention to how we can align short-term decisions with a long-term to ensure kind of consistency between different time horizons, decisions taken at different time horizons. Because yeah, ensuring something that is or aligning decisions long-term with the short-term one could be also very interesting, in particular when we considering different KPIs like costs, safety, sustainability, and so on. Maybe, for example, from a long-term view, some decisions can be locally at the short term not optimal, but when we extend the time horizon, the decision may have more sense and so on. And the explaining decisions, in particular prescriptive ones, could be also interesting to be explained, or at least what can be also interesting is to see the impact of long-term decision on short one, and ensure the vertical integration between different decisions. This was more related to the inspection and maintenance. And generally speaking, here we in the second presentation. The second presentation was more focused on the energy part, but generally speaking, the pipeline, the challenges, and the different technology assets mentioned somehow can be applied to different sectors, not only for energy, but can be applied for other industries. We discussed about complexity, we discussed about explainability, about real-time decisions, and so on. And my question here is more about if we, for example, every industry will somehow deploy efforts to propose AI, data, infrastructure, and so on. That is okay. This is one thing, but I was wondering if, I don't know, there exists maybe some initiatives to cross or to share common infrastructure, common solution approaches for around AI and data. I'm sure that every field has its own features, particularities, but maybe we can pay more attention to how we can specialize some infrastructure, some common solution approaches that are plus minus generic and can be applied for and customized for different sectors. I don't know if there exists some action around the common infrastructure, common ground, something like this that can be leveraged and customized for different particular industries. Thank you very much.
We can take first the question with respect to the maintenance result to combine or how to organize short-term decision inspection.
I cannot see that.
Combine short-term and long-term decisions. Yeah, I mean, there's research going on in parallel, of course, at the time, and we're trying to, of course, to get the most advanced robots and inspection mechanisms in place as much as fast as possible. But as I say, the industries, and maybe Axel can say something to this as well, he's more experience with dealing with the industry that uses inspection maintenance robotics. I mean, they're very conservative, so you have to convince them on a low level, and slowly kind of trigger them to go into the more long-term, more complex systems. Is this what you asked for? Or?
Yeah. So I would like just to add something here. To the long-term. For example, for the short measure, we have if we are in the case of inspection maintenance, activities, and maybe for for long-term decisions, it's better to replace one equipment by another one. Let's take an example of railway system, and maybe for long-term horizon, it's better to replace one element by another one, and not to continue to extend lifespan of some equipment. But when we take a look local in the short term, our prescriptive models may propose solutions that are somehow good from a short-term perspective, but not on the long-term one. And yeah, that's my question. For example, maybe if we imagine we have a problem, we and have a short-term decision to take. And of course, we'll try to minimize the cost and to avoid replace equipment and to continue to make some maintenance activities. But if we take a look at a more extended time horizon, or maybe for that, and in particular for other criteria like sustainability or other ones, it is better to replace a decision and not to continue to make maintenance. And somehow lifespan maximization and cost minimization and safety could lead to some decisions that may be conflicting if we confront the different time horizons. That is more a question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing. This is what Axel comprises. I mean, what you talk about is, to me, it sounds like management decisions from a company.
Yeah, prescriptive analytics.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, inspection maintenance, robotics, or inspection maintenance, just ADR just gives kind of information and tells you, okay, this thing will break down in the near future, and then it's up to management there to make the decision. So this is, I don't think I can answer this. I mean, because it's really, I would say that for me, this is out of the realm of what we are addressing here. I mean, we're providing the tools for the decision maker. I mean, of course, I mean, so even a predictive maintenance system, right? It would just tell you, okay, the chance that this part will break within the next within the next 5 weeks or so. If it's a very good system, it can do this maybe. It's very high, or has a certain percentage, and then it's up to people to make the decisions. I mean, there's no AI so far who will do that, as far as I know.
I think one point can be to give value to the data we collect from inspection and maintenance. We might have to have a decision layer on top of it with AI. I'm not sure. My concern is not sure if AI is the right solution to help on decision support. There are other approaches from decision theory that might be much more effective in providing this support. So one key question is AI have a role to play or not on the decision-making part associated with inspection and maintenance? We have been doing predictive maintenance in the power grid, and we never use nothing on AI. We use statistics with the operations research, mathematical optimization. I guess it might be the role of AI here is more inside the drone data processing, these automated data, and not so much on the decision part, because there are other solutions that might be better.
But I heard that Axel has a comment on this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting discussion, and like proving the return on investment for any new technology, and especially when it involves changing the work process and changing the way contracts are set up, and possibly changing the ratio between capital investments and operational investments. So what you need to buy up front and what is kind of the day-to-day cost. It's a mess to figure it out. But in some cases, there has been reports about very concrete return on investments, and within, if you look at the robotics, when robotics, AI, and data are combined, one very visible thing is the lack of need for scaffolding. It's that simple. If you avoid putting up a scaffold, first of all you expand the the available window of opportunity in terms of maintaining and inspecting your infrastructure, because putting up scaffold can actually take weeks for some infrastructure. But on the other hand, you also, of course, reduce the cost since you don't need it. But I was thinking, so the first key question here is high value use cases, and I was wondering if anyone have some concrete. So we have had some nice suggestions by far, but if there are some further concrete use cases, like rooftop inspection of buildings. Super nice use case for the combination of aerial drones and automated analysis. You go up there, take a few infrared videos, and yeah, but there are other concrete suggestions to both short-term and long-term use cases. That would be very nice.
I mean, Axel, one use case is definitely where energy and inspection maintenance comes together. It's definitely, for example, renewable energy, windmills, offshore especially. I think this is a very good field and a very important field for inspection and maintenance.
Yes.
Well, while we think on those use cases, once let's quickly there are two questions. So one was this to be applied to different sectors. Or yes, yesterday I presented in one of the workshops AIoD on that, where it's power grid, railway, and traffic management. In fact, there are common similarities, a lot of similarities in terms of decision making, and they are all complex systems. The problem that I see is that the devil is on the details. And details here are domain knowledge, because the domain knowledge is very specific. And I guess this is the same with the inspection and maintenance, because the assets are different, and you always need domain knowledge and take something out of the data. And this could be the challenge. On the other hand, what I'm seeing as a trend is that those sectors and those industries, they are starting to get domain knowledge on it, because they need, for example, the water sector. 8 years ago, they know nothing about energy. Now they are becoming experts, because they have to put PV panels on a water treatment station and water distribution. They have storage as water, and they have to manage storage as water based on electricity prices. So they are starting to gain much more knowledge on energy than what they had before. And this will happen the same with data centers, for example. Companies like Amazon, their departments on sustainability and energy, they will grow in the future, and they will hire more energy engineers, because it's becoming a critical thing of energy consumption data centers. And this is transportation will be the same. In the company that is in charge of traditional gas stations with diesel and gasoline, they will start to have electric vehicles chargers, and then they have to start in the net and think on the network. So we cannot, nowadays we can put a gas station wherever we want, based on the business needs, let's say. Then when you have an EV charging station in place, the business needs are no longer, they are a factor, of course, but it's not only, you have now to go on the network, you have to understand how the network operates. So I think energy, domain knowledge on energy will be integrated in those sectors, and this will have exactly the integration. The sharing of data, or common data. There was a competition some years ago from Air Liquide. And Air Liquide wanted exactly that, was to share data between across the supply chain, so that everyone can optimize supply chain. So it was a win-win situation for those who share data, because they could optimize themselves supply chain. So if we share data across the supply chain, that is an interesting thing. And going to the inspection and maintenance, this is where you can find good use cases, because imagine that you are turbine manufacturer. Inspection and maintenance of the components you have inside the turbine, the data you collect from it with visual inspection, with the sensors is relevant for the owner of the wind power plant, is relevant for you as a turbine manufacturer, and is relevant for those companies who manufacture the components and the subsystems you have inside the wind turbines. So if we share these data across the whole value chain, everyone will be benefited. The final customer, the manufacturer, the companies who provide maintenance, because most of those companies, sometimes they are third-party providers, so they are not the manufacturer itself. So this is, I would say, a good use case, and even the labeling of these data for topic could be improved because you exchange knowledge about this, and this could be also interesting case study for share of common data. Now you have time to think on the use cases for inspection and also for energy. You have the ideas of use cases for energy. Okay, going to answer your question about the wind power plants inspection and maintenance. I think that would be a very interesting use case, even because they are operated in extreme conditions. And if we compare number of frequency of faults in offshore versus onshore wind power plants, offshore is 2-3 times higher in frequency of faults. And most of them can be detected with visual inspection with preventive one, and it's very expensive to go to do a human inspection for many reasons. Sometimes even not possible because of natural reasons. So I think this could be actually a very strong use case to inspection and maintenance in the energy sector.
I think we had an online question, and if I got it right, it's about the maintainability of robotic systems, right? Yeah. Yeah, what happens if the robots break? I think this ties into what are the challenges, barriers that it is. And it's in fact, it's true. I mean, if we're talking, if we're talking about sensors, smart sensors, then I don't think we have a big problem in terms of maintainability. But if we're talking about mobile systems, mobile sensor platforms going somewhere, doing something, then of course, it's a different story. And I mean, there are systems, for example, in oil and gas, they use a lot of underwater remotely controlled robots, and I think these are pretty much already, standard engineering wise. They are very high quality, and I mean, Axel knows maybe better, but I don't think that there you have a big problem with maintainability. But if you go into other say more advanced or more research, closer to research system, then of course making these robots work in these hard environments, which I think they have to work in, is very difficult. And it is in fact I think it's a big factor for why we don't have that many robotic startups that actually take this on, because it's really an issue. I think to solve this, because you cannot sell them just off the shelf and then, and then they work for a year or two before they go into repair. They probably come back after a week. And then, so I think you need to think about business models where you use robotics, for example, robots as a service. There are companies out there who do this. They produce their own robots and then they do the inspection themselves. Like the big pipeline inspection company in Germany who builds pigs, which are called these pipeline inspection robots, but also has service companies that use these. I think because then you have the right people. You need specialists to take care of these complex systems. So I think it's a valid point, and before we, so really one of the challenges we have to address in the future is the robustness and reliability of the robotic system, both on the engineering side, hardware side, and on the software side.
Just another approach maybe to this high value use cases. We know that the market for inspection and maintenance of robotics, because of manual tasks done at the moment, is huge. So I think we do not really have insight in where is this big turnover in manual tasks specific, if we know more about that, so that we could take some robotic solutions. And this would mean that in the short term, there are no robots able to do this. And for the longer term, yeah, I mean, it would need far beyond state-of-the-art technologies to do such tasks in the end, covering this huge potential for robots. Okay. So yesterday, for example, we saw the project Tubers. They are working on a robot, cleaning the infrastructure, not cleaning, sorry, for cleaning water. The infrastructure, the pipes, crawling through the pipes, just to check the pipes and see where there are leakages. Because the pipes in Europe are millions of kilometers, maybe it's a bit exaggerated, but you can imagine there's a lot of work to be done, so such things we are looking for. Where our people are doing dangerous work and it costs a lot of money. This is not too much done now by robots, and maybe hard for us to imagine that robots could do it. But in case of much further development of robots, including AI technologies, it would be possible. But this would be a longer term project. Yeah. So
another also occurring here, another use case that was not mentioned is also an emergency situation, like extreme weather events where it's not inspection of assets, it's actually inspection of multiple assets in one region. And I guess even the social acceptance of the technology will be higher. Because when you have floods in cities and critical infrastructures like electricity, communication, and so on, they are down. The drones can be very fast in finding exactly where are the main problems and the faults and recover the somehow faster. So my question is could or not be also interesting because I know they are not so frequent, but when they happen, it's even in terms of costs, it can be very high, and they are becoming more frequent with climate change.
I mean, disaster research and of course. I mean, it's a very valid use case for, but I don't know if it really fits into this inspection and maintenance kind of box. Disaster management, but and then if you're talking about inspection and maintenance, I mean, pipeline inspection, for example, is one thing, but you also could expect, and it's getting more and more important now, inspect, for example, power lines or communication lines, under the sea, for example, because we're getting more and more problems there, but is this then still inspection maintenance or is this security research, right? So.
Yeah, I'll try cutting in. So I think the intersection between inspection and maintenance and energy and security with today's geopolitical situation is super, well, unfortunately, exciting. So what you're basically doing in terms of inspection with robots can also be very relevant for monitoring in terms of security. So yeah, big potential there, I think.
And then what Ebert mentioned, I was just thinking, you know, for example, water pipe inspection. It's something which has a very big societal benefit. I mean, it costs a lot to communities and to, you know, to municipalities to test all this system. If we have a solution there that is much cheaper and faster and better than has a big societal impact, positive societal impact. Maybe we also should consider when we talk about the strategic research and what we want to fund. I mean, for example, traditionally oil and gas was a really big ticket. I mean, we and Axel, sorry, but we like because you're in Norway, of course, you have a different view on that maybe, but. I mean, we love to develop robots for that application, but sometimes I ask myself, is this really the right thing to do? I mean, does this really have to great? I think if we talk about Green Deal and so on, I mean, we really want to support oil and gas to get even more stuff out of the ocean, or is it not better to invest in something that's more benefit for the people? I mean, this is, you know, here robots have benefit for industry, but with pipe inspection, it's more for the communities. So I don't know what's your view on that, Axel.
Yeah, I very good that you're bringing it up. So oil and gas, it's at some point it will be on the decline, but I think the technologies developed for oil and gas are so relevant for example, for renewables in terms of underwater manipulation, underwater installation, using underwater vehicles, pushing the autonomy on that. So Equinor in together with Pham, they set a 6-month record now. So there was basically an autonomous intervention vehicle stationed at the offshore underwater facility for more than 6 months before being brought up. So I think these technologies, and now the key is, as long as you can reduce the cost, then these will be super relevant for example, offshore renewable energy. But you need to reduce the cost. There is a completely different cost picture in oil and gas and in renewables. So that's one thing. The other thing is, for example, for pipe inspection underwater, that's also very relevant for inspecting and monitoring in security aspects of communication cables. And drone in a box solutions, aerial drones for monitoring areas, oil and gas or others, very relevant for harbors, and basically other industrial facilities. So as long as we can get this technology transition and also reduce the cost, I think what's happening in oil and gas and robotics can be very beneficial, but this component of reducing cost is very challenging.
One thing on that, because we will still have gas networks in the future. They will not have natural gas, they will have hydrogen, biogas. I think the assets will be there.
Yeah, 3 points. So first, talking about the security in energy plants. So for example, in Italy, a month ago, we have an incident because in a hydroelectric power plant, okay, so because of a turbine wasn't working good, there was an explosion and some people died also for this. And so I think that this could be a really valuable use case in terms of maintenance of the power plant itself, but also in terms of security for people working there, because sometimes doing maintenance in this type of plants is quite dangerous. So trying to make it automatic, robotic, and also drones, so on, could be a really interesting use case. And it could be in long term also reduce costs, because you will not have to pay a lot someone to go there to do a dangerous activity to perform inspection maintenance. So that's the first point. Second point regarding water pipes, for example, we have also maybe the case for drinkable water, which is basically also critical infrastructure, and maintenance for pipelines for drinkable water could be difficult to be done by a human personnel, but doing it with sensors and drones could be important also in terms of evaluation of possible leakage that could, or pollutants present in the water that then can affect the community itself. And then the third point, talking about oil and gas, and the fact that there is a lot of technology in this sector, but we do not want to sustain this. But we have not to forget that nowadays depleted oil reservoirs are used to store CO2. And the storage of CO2 is a really critical procedure. And the maintenance of this type of infrastructure is really, really important, because, you know, something that runs, pressure change, and you can have an explosion. And I think so also that this could be really interesting, even if complex use case. So the inspection and maintenance of this structure able to store CO2 in depleted oil reservoirs. And then you can use all the how to say, technology available in oil and gas, because, you know, when the focus was on oil, you use some algorithms and simulation to predict the store where you can find the oil. Now you can use these technologies, this knowledge in terms of mathematical models, switch on the part of CO2 storage to predict the pressure change, how it can impact on the structure itself, and then use robotics to inspection and maintenance.
So we reach 1 p.m. So, but if there is any last minute comment or use case you want to propose, we can use 1 or 2 minutes to take that question. If not, we can end here. We'll have the lunch.
Maybe a short question on the energy aspect. Wouldn't it be interesting if we can use big data or AI to predict the consumption patterns within a country, or even maybe bigger within Europe, to predict the demand of energy and the production of energy, for instance, with solar or PV systems, aside of the traditional systems, so we can plan basically the production ahead of time, eliminating the need for very impactful, for instance, gas turbines for energy production. This way also reducing the amount of CO2 produced to produce the required amount of energy.
Yes, I'm trying to do this already. I mean, with this load forecasting or demand forecasting, but it's becoming a challenge exactly because of the level of electrification that is growing. So with electric vehicles, with heat pumps, with a lot of electrical loads, it's becoming much more difficult to forecast. I think one of the solutions is related exactly with data sharing, because you will start to need more and more data from the consumers, so that you do some kind of a bottom-top approach in forecasting the load, because it's becoming much more erratic. The load, and more than that, is depending on actions that we do at the local level. In the case of an EV, we can arrive at home and we start charging it, but if we have a different tariff on the night, we might decide to charge it later. And this is already a human decision, so it gets more uncertainty on the top of this. On the case of AI, for example, this notion of causality is becoming much more important. So when you issue a signal like dynamic tariffs for everyone, people react in a different way to these tariffs and multiple tariffs. We need to link the causality of this tariff with the energy consumption. So we have to start going probably beyond the demand forecasting, but think more on behavioral, forecasting the behavior of the consumers, because if we start having PV, the grid tariff is too expensive, I can produce my own generation, store it, and then I don't use the grid, and who is forecasting the load and the demand is a more difficult problem to forecast. Okay, any last minute? One last one.
Hi. In the same topic, perhaps we can, instead of just predicting, as you said, we have no electrification, newer demand, maybe we set or we can think instead of just trying to predict consumption, trying to adjust consumption in order to module more how much are we asking the electric, how much power are we asking, for example, on your car, you're going to charge it overnight for you, doesn't matter if you start charging at 12 p.m. 12 a.m. to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., as long as at 8 a.m. when you are going to take the car, it's charged. Perhaps also, like, for example, steel manufacturing requires lots of energy. Perhaps what we need is, in addition to think how to predict when people is going to consume, also try to use AI to adjust when we are going to save people or some industry that we can adjust. Okay, don't start the furnace at 10 a.m. Then imagine 11 a.m. there's less power consumption. We can module, or we can also try to predict, okay, cars, or children, overnight is going to be windy, not at 12, but at 1 a.m. Maybe perhaps start all of the system charged at that time, because we're going to have a peak in renewable energy. Perhaps we need to think not only when people want to consume, but also try to make a smart consumption of this energy in order to reduce this power peaks that we are asking to the network.
Thank you. Yes, I think we can finish now the topic group. So if you had the opportunity to provide us also a written feedback, we'll appreciate very much. And feel free to subscribe the mailing list of the two topic groups and to engage with us, because this is homework. We're not supposed to finalize and find the big tickets today, so we can have more inputs. Okay, thank you everyone for the participation. Lunch. We don't know how to